Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Ewan Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan.
On episode 214, Ewan's back, and I am in the co-pilot seat once again, which means I get a little bit of relaxation this week. Long story short, after hosting what could be considered the best episode last week with Kevin, the Kevin and Lachlan Spectacular episode, I lost my voice from hosting, so I really respect what you do each week here, Ewan, definitely doing the majority of the talking, and I get to have a break this week, I guess, right, Ewan?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm a certified yapper. Definitely not a rapper.
Here we go.
Kevin, where are you? Yeah, if you were to leave, I guess we'd have to tap in Kevin, but he's more than capable of doing that. He's proven that this week, so we got a pretty good system going. So yeah, if you want to take off, you can definitely do that. And I've been informed that you guys found out that I was killed on my world travels, but for more on that, I guess, for the background, you'd have to listen to last week's episode. But yes, I can confirm I have Mickey 17 myself, you know. So, but you don't know how many times I've done that before. I'm
glad after a whole week of not doing anything regarding the podcast, you came back with so many good jokes.
Thank you. I don't know how much sarcasm I can sense in that.
We're not even done with the intro yet.
Yeah. So, well, I watched some stuff while I was away. I did actually go to see a movie at a press screening this week with Better Man. Then I also saw The Man on the Inside. I watched Nutcrackers and played some games. And Lachlan and I both caught the first half of Amazon MGM's Secret Level.
Finally, it's animation time this week. Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. Which I don't think they say in the film like once, or like maybe they do say it at least once, because I was listening out for it because I wanted to know how to pronounce Rohirrim, because it's such a funny word to look at and you go, where do I kind of pause to breathe, because it's so many
It's one.
Rohirrim. And
Rohirrim.
Okay, Rohirrim. There we go. But anyway, you and I saw it, and we're gonna talk about it later on in the episode. Oh, actually, no, we're not. We're going to talk about it earlier in the episode. We're doing it backwards now. Ewan liked how we did it backwards, and we're going to try it backwards again. That's one of the things that stuck from last week's special episode, which you should go and check it out.
You said that it's, upside down world. That's the reason why we did that. And with my world travels also taking me to New Zealand and Australia, I was in the upside down world.
Upside down, yeah.
I've taken on their ways. And
exactly.
Well, let's see if this intro is playing upside down. We'll see. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you get me a hat as well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back, Lachlan. We have the banter section here at the start of the show. Thank you. I guess Kevin isn't here, but thank you for letting me take the week off, handling all of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And I will come back to this, I think, this 1 week kind of break. Still being at home and still having other work stuff to do. I think it was a decent break. Finally, I played some games. We'll talk about that a bit more and what we've been watching and I guess playing. But yeah, definitely go check out you guys' episode, because you changed some stuff up. There were some tech difficulties, so we didn't get the greatness of the whole episode, because I think you guys went on for way over 2 hours and had so much to do.
Yeah, I think the recording was like 2.5 hours in the end, which we snuggled down into a nice clean 140. Just because we had to cut both what you've been watching and also just a lot of Kevin's pile of DVDs, which, speaking of DVDs, because at the start is where we like to talk about the new haul with this new redesigned 2.0 podcast. You and I actually have I have 5 new additions to my collection. I have 2 special editions, I have a box set, and I have 2 movies from this year. What would you like to see first?
I'm always get the most giddy about box sets, so
okay, sweet. No worries.
Love to see that first.
I have a 4K box set of the Indiana Jones movies.
Is that a 4K?
All 4 of them.
Yeah.
There's a 4K. Says it right there at the top there.
Nice.
4K.
Ultra HD.
Ignore that it was
wow.
$120. But it is Indiana Jones, all 4 good movies. And I say 4 good movies because I'm a Crystal Skull fan. I will say that.
Okay.
I'm okay with Crystal
Sure.
Skull now that Dial of Destiny is out. And super excited to play the Great Circle, I think it is, because I've heard a lot of positive things about it.
Me
and that's
too.
super exciting as someone who likes Indiana Jones. And yeah, I can't wait to watch them the next time around in nice, crispy 4K. And also, there's the making of all 4 Indiana Jones films, Blu-ray special. Perfect. Can't wait to show my kids this and show them the only 4 Indiana Jones movies. What would you like to see next, Ewan? I've still got 2 special editions of movies, and I've got 2 movies from this year.
2 movies from this year, and then we'll end on the special edition.
Okay, cool. No worries. So I'll start with the least interesting one of them. It is a steelbook of Twisters.
Twisters, okay.
And the Twister logo is like in there. Like it's probably can't hear that, but like it's actually solidly like engraved in there. But it's got his car on it. I really like this, and I think it'd look really pretty in the 4K. So that's definitely why I got it. And Daisy Edgar Jones is in it. And then next up, here's my game plan for this, because I really enjoyed this other movie in the other format that it was made in a little bit more than the original format. And what I mean by that is Furiosa, but in black and chrome.
Oh,
so I bought it in black and chrome first,
that is a
4K.
sick looking,
isn't
God.
it? Right.
Yeah.
So I was gonna buy the colored one, and then I saw this, and I was like, I like Fury Road a lot in the black and chrome version. So I bought this first, and if I like this more than I like the color version, then I'm just gonna stick with this. But if I don't, I'll just go buy the color version anyway. But the other color version of the movie, which I really wish, like, maybe buy a whole nother 4K just to watch it in black and white is really fucking annoying. Just include it in like just make one bundle one and just sell it to me cheaper, because I'm probably gonna have to buy it twice. But isn't that such a cool looking steelbook?
It's perfect for the black and white edition, because the other one's so like vibrant and like it's just orange like sand and like the blue orange, like the teal and orange type look. Or not even teal. I think it's more a darker blue.
And now you and the
editions.
2 special editions. I have a movie from 2018 and I have a movie from 1984. What one would you like to see first?
You already have 2018. The first, I don't know why, but the first thing that my mind goes to is Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, but I feel like you already got that. Show me the 2018 one. I don't know what it could be. It could be a lot of things. Suspiria, okay, from Luca Guadagnino, the remake.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it has...
I haven't seen that one yet.
The 4K of this, and it has a whole bunch of bonus extras, along with 7 character art cards, which whatever that means. But I just wanted it in 4K, and I thought this looked really, really cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, there's that. And then 40th anniversary of this movie.
I got no clue. 94? Paris. Oh, Paris, Texas. Nice.
40th anniversary, Blu-ray. I have not. Which is why I'm
Wim Wenders just was crowned at the European Film Awards for
like
a lifetime achievement.
Like
they crowned him. Yeah, no.
That's pretty cool.
No, but he got one of the lifetime achievement awards or something like something along the lines of that. But
so yeah, there's my haul.
Very nice haul.
It was $250, but let's not say anything. Let's not say anything.
Wow.
Wait, Ewan, and you didn't get to see this. You didn't get to see this unless you watched the episode last week.
I did see this. I did watch the episode last week.
And you get to experience the fact that it's got green on it, so
so you can see through.
See through. Anyway,
Crazy.
there you go. There's my whole.
By the way, if you want to see, I'm making you now do this, but if you want to see these hauls, maybe even ahead of time, maybe at points, all of the companion lists for our podcast, all of that stuff, you'll find it over on our Discord. Kevin and I also chuck in like when a new trailer comes out, we link it in there. All of the news stories, most of the ones that we talk about, like as they come out through the week, you find them firsthand there. So if you don't want to spend your time on X and rot your brain, then you can just like get your news through the Quiet on Set Discord server, and it's less toxic, and so I would recommend that for many reasons, and we got some other fun stuff coming up on there. So go join. There's a link below to that. But is there anything else we should go over? Maybe my haul would be that Red Bull has sent me a couple of
just a couple. Just a couple.
Just a couple. There's 4 rows of this. There's also a stack of it. Did not an
So
official sponsor of the podcast.
I was late to the recording, and Ewan was just like, "Oh, just have a Red Bull so you have the energy." And I was like, "I don't have just endless amounts of Red Bull at home, dude. I don't have that."
It's the end of the year, and I think like last time they sent me, I think 4 boxes. Now they sent me 3 of 5 flavors each. So I think I'm set for the foreseeable future for 2025. It's very nice of them, much appreciated. But again, they just like wanted to help out with the podcast and with my energy and my caffeine intake, but not that we are actually like partnering up with them officially. But yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, Lachlan, do you wanna jump into our first our main review of the day of the
Absolutely,
of the week?
man. It feels a bit too early doing it with you.
It feels kind of wrong. It feels like we're doing something naughty.
Trust me, way better. Way better.
Then let's talk about The Lord of the Rings, The War for Rohirrim.
Hope has yet to abandon these lands, 183 years before the events chronicled in the original trilogy. A sudden attack by Wolf, a clever and ruthless Dunderling lord seeking vengeance for the death of his father, forces Helmed Hammerhand and his people to make a daring last stand in the ancient stronghold of the Hornburg. Finding herself in an increasingly desperate situation, Hera, the daughter of Helm, must summon the will to lead the resistance against the deadly enemy intent on their total destruction.
That's a lot that we're already getting in the slog line.
Did you like that? I think that was funny enough. That was also one of the longest ones we've ever done, and I did that in one go.
It's nice.
I did that
it's
in one go.
It's because it's early in the episode, so that's why
it's early in the episode.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, the War for Rohirrim, again, we're going to butcher this name if we keep saying it each time we say it. We should say it differently every time. Yeah, the war of roaring around. But it comes from Kenji Kamiyama, who I'm not familiar with any of his other work, but obviously a Japanese director and screenwriter. He worked on the TV show Ghost in the Shell, the standalone complex, not Ghost in the Shell, Ghost in the Shell. What's surprising to me is as well that this movie for an animated film is rather long. It's 133 minutes long, over 2 hours, something that you rarely get. And it's been so far received in a pretty mixed way. On Letterboxd, it's a 3.2 at the moment, IMDb a 6.8, a 56 on Metacritic on 24 reviews, and that's a rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a 57 on 63 reviews. And I didn't find an official budget other than like one that quoted it for 30 million. I was like, that's cap. I think this movie definitely cost more. And it is only made because we are recording this on the Friday that it actually releases. And it had some previews. I think it grossed around 2 million so far. I assume it's going to be in the 10 million range. Hopefully, that's what they would hope for this film. But it's not I think it's not a kind of easy knockout hit for them. It's interesting. There's a different style. This movie was also kind of like fast-tracked in a way because New Line through Warner Brothers really needs this to come out in the time frame now. Otherwise, they are losing out on the rights to the original Lord of the Rings saga. And that's why like where Amazon kind of neatly in between outside of the books, they've kind of found this loophole for the story that they can tell. It's not based on, I think it's just like based on like some other versions or other books or other references, annotations from these books for their TV show that also didn't do super well this year because we have yet to, both of us, we haven't seen that TV show. We haven't caught up with the second season and it really just kind of came and went. No one talked about it. Is this, Lachlan, a movie that is like raising your interest again in this franchise, or have we just like peaked with these first 3 films and everything that's like now coming after feels like, no, let's just go back and watch the extended versions of those original films? Or is there something good in here, like worthwhile?
Well, look, not everyone has 40 years of their life to dedicate to watching 3 movies, you know? And I think I have consumed enough Tolkien in my life to say that I am someone that is a fan of Lord of the Rings. I don't think I'm a mega fan. Like, I think I've seen the original trilogy probably close to like 4 to 5 times, the extended cut at least twice, and I feel like I've seen the original like cut of the first 3 like 3 times while growing up, and I've seen the Hobbit series twice. I own the Hobbit book, and I've read about 10% of it. Yeah, just didn't get into it.
Right.
I've watched season 1 of Rings of Power, haven't watched the second season, consumed this on the opening evening of this movie. So I feel like I'm someone who's consumed enough of this media to say, look, yes, the original trilogy is really high in terms of a standard, and you have to really be nailing everything. But I think it's very important to note that Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, is a very important moment in cinema history. I don't think there has been a movie even coming close to the scale that Lord of the Rings did. I think that there are movies that have tried to come close, and there are different types of scale. Like, I think Dune does a scale quite well for a modern epic, but I don't think it ever reaches the same heights that the original Lord of the Rings trilogy does, and that is because they had like 10 years to pre-production that motherfucker, and then they had so much time in post-production to just really perfect it, and I don't think we're going to have a movie anytime soon, or at least a series of movies anytime soon that are going to be such a, not only just like a cultural moment, like that, like 2001, 2002, like that was the Lord of the Rings moment, right? Like every award, it was like sweeping every award. It was fundamentally changing what a movie epic is. And I think I want to compare it to something like Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane was a turning point with modern cinema, and I feel like Lord of the Rings was a very similar thing in the sense that it was the moment where they peaked with an epic saga. And I don't think they can ever reach those same heights because of how perfect everything was to get to that point.
I think James Cameron has aspirations with Avatar to be the modern version of that. I think to me, that doesn't work.
It's too long.
But he blends that kind of more CGI. Like, the thing is, those movies are made, obviously we're talking about an animated film, which is a completely like whole can of worms, but the way that they blend kind of really clever like cinema tricks while also coming up with these kind of the like mass army animation thing that they pioneered and made for this film that is now that you can now build on. But it was in those movies, it kind of aged really, really well, and that is surprising how much care went into that. And we don't really typically do that anymore with movies because it's usually just a bit of a faster turnaround with the capabilities of CGI, but you also lose a lot of like that tangibility. And to me, this movie felt a lot like there was a base performance and there was something animated on top of it. To me, like, the style itself didn't scream itself like off the screen, like this needs to be on the biggest screen possible. It felt kind of a bit flat to me, honestly. And then it had like some changes when there were like action scenes and sweeping camera motions, and you can obviously see that CGI camera that I don't watch enough anime, but I think that's always controversial when they do that like full CG thing, because it usually like breaks a bit of the style as well. I think this is just a really basic story that unfortunately doesn't really engage me that much, because it feels like so, yeah, whatever. It feels like an anecdote for something else. It's not like a driving force, a really captivating lead or lead characters. They're all like, some of them are pretty stoic and heroic, but I was a bit bored, I gotta say. Like, I didn't have a great time with this film. I don't know how you felt.
So on your point, I do tend to agree with you with it does feel flat. And I think that is because there isn't too much glossy prettiness. However, there are moments and glimpses of beauty. I think that just the opening, at first I was like, is this live action? Is this a live action shot? Am I? And I was freaking out because I was like, no. And then it pans down, pans down into a sweeping shot with Hera on her horse, and I'm like, okay, no, definitely animated. And then there's another moment, a little bit later on, not too far where Hera is taking a rampant war elephant into the forest, and there is just this one moment where the camera doesn't do anything other than just keep panning around in the forest. And I'm looking at these landscapes, I'm like, this is stunning. So there is a lot of beauty in here, but I find that the actual moments with characters quite flat and boring, and I think that also is coming from a narrative that is a little bit all over the place with pacing. I feel like this is a very long movie, as you said, and I feel like it's just a little bit too long with setting up new characters and everything like that so quickly to then tell this large-scale story like, hey, here's this backstory with Hera and Wolf, and here is the relationship she has with her brothers, and you don't really get that building connection to then eventually the downfall of certain characters and the impact that has on a particular character. The one character that does stand out, though, is Helm, voiced by Brian Cox. I will stand on a hand on my heart right now and just say he was the best voice cast of this entire thing. Every line of dialogue, it was just perfect for him. Even like later on in the film where he becomes a little bit unhinged, I was just so much more excited with that. But the film definitely, unfortunately, starts to really come apart in the middle of it. It's a little bit too long and worn out. And it kind of has this last hoorah happening, and it feels just a little bit all over the place with pacing. And when it comes to the actual dialogue, it's a lot of nothing. Like there's a lot of nothing to the dialogue, and it feels just over the top, and it feels would you describe it as? You said a great word earlier, and I cannot remember what it was. Did you say stoic? Or
there's stoic and heroic, both of those,
But there's nothing tangible to it. They're just saying fluff words for the sake of fluff, and you don't really feel that emotion. And I guess these are new characters, so you don't really, when Gandalf says something, you go, fuck, that's Gandalf saying it, right? But you've built a relationship with this character, and I don't feel like the only character that gets that is Helm. So I feel like not only do I agree with your flatness, but I feel like the film suffers from just a pacing issue and writing issue of as well.
And you'd want the central conflict between Hera and Wolf, who have this like background growing up together, to have a bigger impact. It just doesn't. And that to me is really odd. It's like very literal on like, you've cut me before, I gotta cut you back, and you've taken something from me, now I gotta take something from you. And it's like, and that character didn't read as like one note to me, like the potential for Wolf, and then he kind of is. And to me, like
he's terrible as a villain.
And that's like, not to bring up a totally random other different movie, The Northman. Robert Eggers got a new movie out, Nosferatu, soon. Like that sort of downfall in the losing yourself in like the act of revenge. I would love to get more from a villain like this that's like losing itself, and until the very end. And we already know that that they're going to be successful, because in The Lord of the Rings, this takes place, I think, 183 years before. 83 years. They're still there, so like they're going to win this battle. This is not what it's supposed to be about. It's about like those moments in between. I giggled a bit when spoilers here for those who haven't seen it yet. I giggled a bit when I saw Helm like with his fist raised like this, dead. Because I was like, okay, well, maybe he dies and he's like frozen in place and he's like fighting off, and a bunch of them are around him. But it's like it's such an image that's more like, that's the legend that gets propelled like years and years later, and it makes sense with the narration that we get at the start, that this is like basically the legend of how they defended it. And then you could have like looser bits of that would make sense why you don't get into the background. It's just like based on the facts, this is what happened, these were the people in it, and now it's just like recounting the events. And through that angle, it makes sense, like the way that it's presented with the voiceover from, I'm blanking on her name, but she was also in the live action movies. But that just makes for a less engaging movie.
Hera, our main protagonist. I think that she ultimately is good, and I think that the story struggles because it doesn't really have an overall message that it tries to really nail home. other than like the cycle of revenge sort of thing. And if I'm honest, there's a couple of plot points I'd like to go with you really quickly that I struggle to understand.
Sure, yeah.
And the first one that sets off is Helm kills Wolf's father, right?
In one punch.
In a brawl with one punch. And the immediate thing he says afterwards is, and to be fair, the way this character is set up is slimy. There's like little side eyes between all these characters. So my first initial thought of and he was breathing very heavily through the fight as well. And obviously he was a big bloke. So I thought, yeah, okay, he's a bit unfit. But the fact that he falls down from one punch and then dies, I actually thought was a setup. Like he killed himself on purpose to then start a war. And I thought that is where the narrative was going to go. The downfall of Helm whatever his name was again. Helm, hang on, where is it? Because I'm going to come back to this joke anyway. Hammerhand. Helm, Hammerhand. Very literal, right? What's your name? Helm, what are you doing?
Oh,
I've got a hammer in my hand. Oh, Helm, Hammerhand.
Yeah.
But I thought that was going to be a thing because immediately the first thing he says is, I punched him once and he's dead. And that was just shocking, and I thought that was eventually going to come back. And then later on, he like literally punches a giant orc and just knocks off its horn with one punch. So now I understand that his punch is actually quite deadly and could probably go head to head with One Punch Man. Yeah, since it's both set in an anime world. But the other really frustrating part I had was, yes, this relationship between Hera and Wolf should have been set up way more because they are our two protagonists and antagonists, and they definitely have a deeper history than what we actually know, right? There's a relationship there. They were kids together, and we get one flashback scene, we get one conversation with before it's separated and ripped apart. The film should have opened on a actual history with them. It should have opened on the fight. It should have opened as a montage of them hanging out with each other, and then eventually them growing old and separating and going their ways to their houses, obviously, because there's grief between the fathers. That would have been a good setup for these characters because they were set up as friends and then they're gone to enemies. But we don't see that. We only see them at the moment they become enemies and they have history. We should see the history, and that would help us have less of this weird middle part of this massive story that's going on because it's just too drawn out. There were moments in the film that I didn't even think they thought the characters out that well, because Hera is at the start of the film talking to her squire, Leaf, and Leaf is going through all of the banners. And then he gets to the shield maidens and goes, "Oh, who's this one?" And she just knows this ancient banner that she's probably been taught about. You know, no one else knows. She knows who it is. Leaf doesn't know who it is, but she remembers it, right? But then later on, she questions a banner of a current house that is sent to her father. You know, the image of the horse.
Symbol.
Yeah. She has to go, "Whose house is this?" And they have to tell her who house it is. And then she goes, "He's going to betray us." How does she not know the house of someone that's given her father's like trust, right? Like exactly, right? So it felt a little bit like the characters weren't fully thought out, and that kind of annoyed me. And that obvious misguided character moments kind of breaks apart the feeling of this character is all powerful, all good, all knowing, as a hero should be in like this fantasy world, because that's a little flaw. And yes, characters should have flaws, but that's something that's just kind of like, she knows this one, she doesn't know this one. Where does this
she often
thing lie?
fights not like proactively, but out of desperation and survival. Like when she fights with that, she confronts the traitor and then is forced tag teaming with the hoofs of a horse to like she pierces him and kills him, and obviously like is overwhelmed by that, and all of her fights feel that way. So it's like not a heroine character that we expect maybe from Princess Mononoke or something like that. No, you know. But
I love that because obviously throughout the film she's obviously very capable of taking care of herself. And in this world, she's a woman, so she's going to be looked down upon. She's going to be sold to like, hey, go marry this person. And the dad's like, I know that you're safe then, but she wants to fight. And the fact that she is not as physically strong and she can't take them on, that was exciting because she had to kind of outsmart them. And that was exciting for me because that made the fights exciting to kind of like deal with, which is why that particular scene with the pitchfork I enjoyed because the horse was helping out and I was like, yeah, use what you can, use your resources, don't just use your brute strength like this dumb guy is going to do to portray your father. And I loved that whole fight sequence, that first big fight sequence. One massive props I have to give is I think that the fight scenes are fantastic. I think the deaths of major characters are done really well and are done in a way that's quite impactful, not only to other characters, but to story. Because I feel like, again, spoiler, that the death of Hera's brothers is done in a way to build, we'll get to Hammer, to build Wolf's character to a lot. Let's get to Hammer really quickly, everybody, because I told Ewan about this before the episode of the recording. His father is Helm Hammerhand. His name is Hammer Hammerhand. His name is Hammer Hammerhand. And that is a stupid name. They don't say the name throughout the entire thing except saying his first name. They don't say his full name, which is Hum Hammerhand. And that is stupid. Anyway, that's the entire thing I have about him. But, I'm pretty sure he was the one that had the slow horse, which was really fucking stupid. And he sings. But anyway, he sings. So I think all the fight scenes are great. I think the deaths are like actually really good. Even like I know it's cringy with like the Frozen, but like that's the story, right? Yeah. But the music, bro.
Stand out to you? I'm someone who really. I mean, it starts off with type of Middle Earth type of music. And then I think it fades a bit more into the background where it's a bit more.
It does.
It feels like it's a bit different, right?
In those fight scenes, it comes out and I'm just like, yeah, let's go. I think that one of the standouts of the year for me was actually the score for this. I actually quite enjoyed it. I wrote it down multiple times, just like score slaps. One of my notes was just like, so far it's fine. Like I was just like the first half of the film was like, so far it's fine. And yeah, I genuinely some decent moments like Hera killing the elephants both times. Like I enjoyed that she used she can't take down an elephant, so she used a monster, used her brains, and then she makes fire. Elephant scared of fire, uses big crossbow to kill elephant, and I was like, that's smart. She's using her smarts. And then the last note that I wrote was other than like score slaps is didn't think Daddy could kill man with one punch, but he slapped the big orc with one punch and horn came off. So that's another note that I made. But yeah,
well, I like the character design. I think that like some of the looks, especially for Hera, was really iconic. And I can already see a bunch of people like doing cosplays for it that actually would be pretty fun. Same goes for Helm. I think like that sort of look was great. The rest of it, I think, again, not really that much of a standout like when it comes to the visuals. I also like that the invasion starts about like halfway through the movie, and then it obviously isn't an action scene the whole time through because they got to pass through winter and you know, that sort of thing. But I do like that it starts early and most of it is, again, it's like another thing where the actual like title of the film is obviously wrong. It should be like The Siege on Rohirrim or something like that, not the war, but they always try to do war when it's just like one extended battle. But
War of the Planet of the Apes. Sorry.
Exactly, right. But yeah, I don't know if you got anything else to say other than your rating, but
3 stars.
I'm pretty much sure.
I gave it 2.5 initially, but then I kind of thought about it and I was like, I didn't think it was terrible. I don't think it's great. The music comes up. I like the action. Brian Cox is fantastic. I would like more of this, but I would like more of this in lesser, longer movie. I want smaller movie, please. Give me a runtime of 100 minutes. Don't give me 140. Like, fuck off. And give me animated Lord of the Rings, war, this stuff. Good. Yes?
I agree with you. I think this movie isn't bad at all. I'm somewhere between a 2.5 and a 3 as well. For our Letterboxd rating, I think I would move to you with a 3 if we have to select a rating. I'm going to stick with like a 5 out of 10 though, because there's a lot of possibilities. I like that Dominic Monaghan and I think Billy Boyd both come back to play like an orc.
Yeah,
really quickly. That's nice. And then at the end there, obviously you got the okay to use what's his name, Sauron the White,
Christopher Lee's
voice recording. I could do without that. I don't need that kind of fan service. But we didn't talk about the actual ending on Hera leaving out, and then Freylove ending up as like the ruler, I think, of the kingdom. And that whole storyline, I think, is a bit also another dumb one where they send him away for, to me, not really justifiable
for like the whole
reasons.
end of the movie.
Yeah, and then he's just like back conveniently to Deus Ex Machina come up.
He was just out of the movie for so long, I forgot he existed. And then they kept cutting back to his camp, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, you're here.
Exactly. So again, like we said, pacing issues, a bit of like writing issues too, but
every story
ultimately, I think fine. Exactly. But yeah, let us know what you think of it, and if you're rewatching all of the Lord of the Rings film to properly experience this, or yeah, if you're waiting for this until it is out on Max or in streaming, and if you had to pair it up with another film that goes along with the Lord of Rohirrim, what would you pick, Lachlan?
I had like a lot of Princess Mononoke vibes going on, so I really want to throw Princess Mononoke out there as a double feature. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit shorter. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like...
Is it? I remember that movie being rather long. I don't know. Maybe
in comparison to this, I don't think it is as long. It's a little bit shorter. It's 134 minutes. It's still 2 hours. But it's a little bit shorter. I get that. As an idea, Princess Mononoke for me is a liked and 5-star movie on Letterboxd, which is why do I go and rewatch it this week? Ooh, I've got the 4K. Wait, no, I don't have the 4K. I have the Steelbook. It's not a 4K, it's a Blu-ray.
If you rewatch it this week, we can do a revisited review for it, and I would be so down, because I would love to talk a bit more about Princess Mononoke.
It has Wolf, and so does Lord of the Rings, and it has strong female protagonists, and so does Lord of the Rings, and it has this beautiful landscape that is gorgeously drawn, and so does Lord of the Rings. Fantastic score.
Yeah.
Also made by a very famous Japanese director, but I think that Hayao Miyazaki is probably much more famous than Kenji.
I don't know.
Kenji?
If he's Kenji.
So yeah, I think that Oh, and there's like Sad Boy. Obviously, like there's Sad Boy, and that's what Wolf is. And yeah, anyway, that's my double feature pick.
Not too bad. I actually like it quite a bit, and I want to kind of see that movie now. I'm just going with a pretty boring pick overall, because I think that this movie still is in the running for one of the Oscar spots. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the actual like projected top 5 is at the moment, other than
I'm gonna see what it says. I'm gonna see what it is on Gold Derby. But
yeah, go check that out. But The Wild Robot is still the front runner. Flo is picking up a lot of awards. I think it just won the European Film Award. I think not just for animation, but for just European film overall. I'll correct that if that's a mistake. And A Memoir of a Snail is probably my highlight of the year when it comes to animation. Just a really sad story told through great claymation. And we haven't even seen the new one from Aardman with the Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. That's the one that's not out yet. Maybe it will come out soon for you. I know for you, Lachlan, it should be out next week or the week after in theaters. So that's pretty exciting, but it will be on Netflix sooner than later. And then I haven't seen this one yet myself, Mars Express. But Kevin just watched it and gave it a pretty decent rating. I want to catch up on some more animation, so we are not just talking about the top 5 Oscar-nominated animated films, maybe broaden your horizon even beyond those that get the most, I guess, buzz and are talked about. But those are my multiple double feature picks. They will actually make like a quadruple feature.
Oh, exactly. Quintuple, yeah, incredible. As an idea, currently the top 5 are The Wild Robot, Inside Out 2 on Gold Derby, by the way.
Inside Out 2,
expert expert votes. Wild Robot, Inside Out 2, Member of a Snail, Flow, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance, Most Foul, Moana 2. But all I'm going to say is it's a hard drop off of like 100%, 100%, 92, 92, 84. And then Moana goes down to 20%. And then it's Lord of the Rings at 4%. And then Piece by Piece. So, yeah. And just so you know, Lord of the Rings and Piece by Piece share 4%. The same amount of percent that someone voted Despicable Me 4 with. So, it's up there.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was one of the... I guess it's not one of the frontrunners to be nominated, because Inside Out 2 clearly exists, and Vengeance Most Foul is the other fill-in. But I'm surprised that Transformers 1 kind of just like fell off the side of the earth of Cybertron.
See, I think it's a fun movie. I just don't think it's an award-winning movie. I think that there are stronger contenders out there in the race. I just think it, in the scheme of things, it doesn't beat Wild Robot. It doesn't even come close to Wild Robot. I just think that, yeah, it was a good movie. It was fun. It deserves its little fun, but yeah.
I know. I'm fine with the ones that are getting nominated, but if I see Moana 2 over like Transformers 1, that would be a bit bizarre.
I don't think Moana 2 is going to get into the race. I think that those top 5 are going to be quite solid. To be fair, I haven't seen Flow. I haven't seen Wallace and Gromit. So far, Flow is like highly rated, and it's fucking. It's
very
Wallace
much a Critic
style, guys. It's going to be a good movie. They don't make bad movies.
No, Wallace and Gromit is such a delight.
They literally have to make the movie over 10 years.
Yeah.
They have plenty of time to realize it's bad. It's the same thing with Memoir of a Snail. It took Adam Elliott how many years? Like 15 years?
Yeah, it's been 15 years since his last feature. I think he said he was working on this for 5 years
to figure out that he was making a bad movie, and he made a good one. So yeah, there we go.
But anyways, that wraps it up for I guess our main review. Again, different approach. Let us know if you like us getting into the review straight out of the gate for these. And Lachlan, let's head on over to what we've been watching. I told you earlier this week when we were talking about like, hey, what are you doing on your break? That I'm like, oh yeah, this has been my lowest week ever. I haven't really watched anything. I watched one movie, which I think was Better Man. It was a press screening. I didn't even go to the press screening for War of Rohirrim. And I also skipped Craven the Hunter, which otherwise you would get, I guess, a 1-star review for Craven the Hunter, because everyone's just been tearing that movie apart. I'll make sure to actually, I guess, catch it for next week or the week after. I kind of just still want to see it, but all I've heard about that film is that it's horrible. Look, where do you want to start? What do you want to know? Because I watched some stuff last week that is actually like worth talking about.
Tell me about Skeleton Crew.
Yes. Okay. So you're staying kind of clear, I guess, of that show until maybe it's wrapped or forever.
You know what? I'm not sure yet. I've actually heard good things.
Good things, right? Yeah.
I wouldn't mind like Star Wars Kids Goonies. Right.
Well, maybe Ewan 2.0, who's also a android, but doesn't tell you. I don't know if AI, I'm actually 2.0. Yeah, it's AI. I don't know if he hates kids as well as much as the previous one did that died on the Caveman Islands. But there's kids as leads in this, and Jude Law is fine, but he's in service of, the children on the show. And I'm like, one of them is an elephant. So that's fun. I didn't like the first couple of episodes. I think it's better than some of the other Star Wars shows. Obviously nowhere near to Andor, but the setup is basically like this group of children who are all on a planet that has kind of been lost, that no one knows about, and it used to be it's like this myth in all of the out there in the pirating of space. The pirates of space are basically all looking for a booty, and apparently this I guess planet that has been long lost holds all the riches, and that's kind of the concept of it. I've only seen the first 3 episodes of the show so far, and it's at the typical like Star Wars pace where it takes quite a bit to kind of get going, and you just hope it's not a lackluster like set up for it. Like I feel like Ahsoka was fine, but especially like something like The Acolyte had like one sick moment, and then it was followed up by one of the worst episodes that they've had. That was just like dumbass like plot holes and all of it, and they don't seem to get the pacing right for TV at all in Star Wars, other than Andor. So yeah, maybe if you're a Star Wars fan, you get more out of it than I did, but I didn't like the children. This is what it comes down to.
Shocker. I think last week one of the best jokes I said was in regards to like 32,000 kids auditioning for Harry Potter, and I said Ewan hated every single audition.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that
Make
far
sure to
into the
watch them
episode,
all.
but
Just...
there are so many good jokes last week with Kev and I. Like we nailed it. We nailed it. Can you tell me about Nutcrackers, by the way? If it's as shit as it looks.
It pretty much is. Again, it comes down to children
Perfect.
as the lead. Again, it's fine. I gave it like a 4 out of 10. And it has Ben Stiller as like this, an asshole who just lost his sister, that he kind of grew up, like they grew apart, and she has 4 boys that now are struggling to find a place to stay, because they have no relatives, and they're kind of more than a handful. They're like a handful, but the hand is shit. But then there's also liquidated piss that it squirts into your face, because they're that much of a hassle to take. Like they're the worst.
Analogy.
Did you like that?
Like this one.
It's an allegory even. You can visualize it. Oh, look at the
I don't like it. Don't like it.
And then it obviously wants to have like that hearty thing of like, oh, it's almost Christmas, so let's kind of come together. And he ends up realizing that he wants to take care of them. Like obvious. Just look at what this movie is, and that's what you're getting. The comedy itself is not really funny. And David Gordon Green, some people are saying it's better than his Halloween films. I didn't hate all of his Halloween films. I think most of them were kind of fine, other than Halloween Ends, which I thought was a big misstep. This one's like worse than I think his Halloween films. And the only shining light in this is that Linda Cardinelli is like a love interest. And I'm all down for Linda Cardinelli being a love interest. That's all I'll say.
Pretty good.
Yeah, but not something that you need to see. You don't need to see this film for this year, for sure.
Okay, fantastic. All I see is a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, I mean, for some of them, I don't have that much to say.
And a
old
Clint
movie.
Eastwood movie.
Yeah,
as well.
so Kevin really was campaigning for my 600th vlog on Letterboxd, because you get the milestones on your stats page. And he was like, okay, let's pick this movie, let's pick this movie. And he picked The Bridges of Madison County, which is a Clint Eastwood film from 1995. That I don't know if it actually won an Oscar, but it definitely got Meryl Streep Oscar nominated, deservingly so. He stars in it as well. It's an adaptation of a novel that came out a couple of years before, that is said to be like a pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty bad, like best-selling romance film. And then he adds a ton to this. Like I gave it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a really, really strong film that is like really quaint and small in the interactions of this housewife who's not happy with how where she ends up, and then Clint Eastwood comes in as a photographer, and they kind of bond. And it's not as surface level of like someone who's worldly comes into her small world and broadens her horizons, and she loses herself in that. It's part of it, but then it also adds like a lot of those confrontations of what a person like this can represent, or how they just like easily swoon someone like her, and if that is exploitative or not. And he just comes in pretty with good intentions. He doesn't seem like a bad guy, and isn't really a bad guy in the whole movie. It's just a really good romance film, and I love good romance, and I didn't know that Clint Eastwood had that in him. It's currently my favorite Clint Eastwood film, but I've not seen Unforgiven, and I think another one that is regarded as one of his best. But Kevin and I, just to tease you, are going to go over a large chunk of Eastwood's filmography. We plan to, over the next month or years, I guess, to go through all of his films. And we want to do that with more filmmakers, I guess, for the show in 2025 as well. And it's just the beginning stages, and I definitely can recommend it to you. It's a really good film.
Do you want to talk about anything else?
Well, I think Sweetheart's simple, like, I guess, love story thing, it's fine. I think Kieran Shipka is great, but there's not much more to say about that. I think A Man on the Inside is one of the just really, it's just a show that has a ton of heart. Like, it's based on the mole agent. That was I think a Chilean documentary that got Oscar nominated. It might have even won the Oscar a couple of years back. And this is basically an adaptation with Tad Danson, who now has to infiltrate a nursing home to find something out. And it's just like, it's so charming. I love when stories give old people like a lot of characters still, that we are not just like reducing them down to their old and frail and can't take self of them, can't take care of themselves anymore, but find a lot of like the humor in it, but also obviously because it's also close to death, it's a lot of tragedy in it. But Michael Schur, who is also behind like some of the most iconic sitcoms from the last decade and a half, just really nails it. He worked really well with him in The Good Place, and this is just like an ongoing great collaboration between the two. So if you're looking for something to put on Netflix amidst all of the shit, I think A Man on the Inside is actually one of the best shows of the year. And Creature Commandos, I saw the first 3 episodes. James Gunn is writing it, and all of the people who are like voice acting in it are also going to be playing the live action versions of it. So like we got Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr., right? The Rick Flag, the guy who died in the Suicide Squad through the hands of Peacemaker, who then got a spin-off that now is filming the 2nd season. And you're just like kind of wondering, okay, is this whole like beginning stage of this universe, because this is basically like the first thing under James Gunn, is it like coming up to a good start? And I had a really, like, I gave all of these, because it's the first couple of episodes, like a 7 out of 10, episode 1 through 3, but it has a tiny bit of that like James Gunn adjacent MCU humor, but it's fine. It's not grating, but this is a great start. Like, I would recommend you, I think you'd enjoy this as well. And I think there's only, if I'm not mistaken, there's only a couple episodes. There's not that many. Yeah, I will be watching this really off to a great start. I can't say the same about Dream Productions. I think this was kind of just like released as a Pixar shoe-in spin-off of Inside Out 2. And there's a reason why like no one is talking about it. It's under 2 hours if you look at all of the 4 episodes that are out for this. And it's just really bad. It like basically takes that like Office, Parks and Rec type of approach, where it takes them out of the scene and it's all fourth wall breaking as if they're being filmed. It's just really, really unfunny. It just works for those who click on related videos under Inside Out and Inside Out 2. And then you watch this. There's no other reason for you to go see this little miniseries. It's not really good. And then lastly, the last thing, sorry, Lachlan, I'm taking up a lot of time.
That's fine.
Better Man, I think is not out for a while, at least a couple more weeks until it comes out. But I got to see this at a press screening earlier this week, and it's basically a biopic that takes a bit of a different approach to show Robbie Williams' life as a monkey. So because he sees himself as a monkey, the whole movie, it doesn't break that. The whole movie, he is a monkey. Everyone else is a human. That just adds a lot to the production cost. And I can see in a lot of moments why it adds to the atmosphere it tries to create, because it deals with a lot of like imposter syndrome, but also just like self-hatred, and has this reoccurring thing of whenever he's on stage, he's like getting growled at by other past versions of himself that like represent the self-hatred he still has in himself. It's also a lot about like relationships like that are fractured, especially between his father, and how much of a shitbag he is. Not his father, but also Robbie Williams. And it kind of is also really openly saying like, hey, I'm a fuckhead and I'm going to be an asshole. This is going to be the story about me being an asshole. And I just didn't know all of obviously I didn't grow up in the time where like Take That was big or he was big. I just listened through the music because my mom was like, hey, he has a cool song, Robbie Williams, you know this guy? When I was younger, and I listened to it and I was like, it's got some great songs. But then when they came on here, apart from the musical scenes, which I got to see earlier this year at a film convention in August, they basically showed us like 3 out of the 5 or 6 musical numbers. So I'd already seen the best stuff, and everything in between in this movie, I really didn't care for. It was very much a by the numbers like music biopic, but he's a monkey. And it's just like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I'm going to be on the lower side of ratings. I think there's going to be a lot of people who end up enjoying it, but I end up giving it a 4 out of 10. Probably for a lot of people, it's also going to be a 2025 film by the time it actually comes out. Lachlan, there's something that both of us saw, so I think we could chat definitely about that. Because when we looked at the trailer for Secret Level, I think we were both quite excited at the possibilities this holds. Like, it tells original stories from a couple of selected video game worlds, extends them into a solely narrative short that ran through around like 12 to 20 minutes for most of them. And we got the first 8. By the time this episode comes out, or by the time you're seeing this, it will likely already have the second half out, and we'll shortly after post a separate review going over all of them in detail. But having seen the first half, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, Sifu, New World, Unreal Tournament is one of them called, one for Warhammer 40,000, Pac-Man, Crossfire, and Armored Core. Do you think this series is off to a good start?
No.
Hey, he's not holding back.
Look, I'm a little, I don't want to say disappointed. Look,
I'm a bit disappointed.
I saw the IGN review and I saw it as a 5, and I don't take IGN's word anymore. And I was like, alright, sure, it's not a 5. And I saw it and I was like, it's probably averagely a 5, because I think that there is 2 fantastic episodes, like absolutely top tier fantastic episodes. And then there's one episode that was creatively interesting. There was 2 episodes where I was Pac-Man, correct?
Yeah.
There were 2 episodes I was like, I don't really fucking get what's going on right now. And then there was one episode that was a fantastic kind of like cutscene in the game, and then there was one where Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it and I was confused. Yeah, and then there was an ad for Sifu.
It basically was, to me, you asked me before the show what my worst one was, and I do now. I think I have an answer now. I think the episode 7 Crossfire to me is the worst one, because I got so annoyed when they keep saying we're the good guys over and over and over again. I was like, shoot yourself in the head right now.
Don't get me wrong. I think they were all visually fantastic. Yeah. The problem we've got is none of them do anything. Like, it's just, and again, because Ewan just said this, but we talked a little bit about this before the recording, and I definitely spoke my mind about this. So, Ewan, pretend that I haven't told you this yet. It felt like TikTok, like just mindless, quick content that didn't really achieve anything. I think it kind of went for the like, if you have the opportunity to tell a story within the world that you're setting in, or you're going to make a quick, short of that narrative like they do in Sifu, why not try to do something interesting with it? And I think that the world where, like with the Sifu one in particular, I think I was let down because I've played the game and I was just like, well, this is just one level of the game and the boss battle, and like the fighting was good, but it just didn't do anything to add on. Like, it would have been interesting with that particular game to add on to the narrative. Why not do something where you can add on to the narrative? Because it's already such a short game, if I'm honest. It's not that long of a game.
It depends on your skill, I guess, but
I didn't take too long to finish it.
I haven't even started it yet, so I actually have better time than you.
But then you've got the complete opposite. And I know that I think they're different, obviously different studios, but then you have like the Armor Core one, which goes to try to tackle some interesting dilemmas. And
felt a bit more like Love, Death, and Robots in the best episodes.
And then doesn't really achieve anything in the end. But tried to do something. And what's super annoying is that you only get that sort of glimpse. The best episode is the Warhammer episode. I'm going to say that right now. The best episode is the Warhammer episode, because it is just it's getting me just so fucking excited for the live action one that Henry Cavill wants to do. Like, I just want more of this. Everything about the Warhammer world is just crazy good. not only just crazy good, but just like crazy fun.
It's also by far the highest rated on IMDb. I think it's widely regarded to be the best. To me, like the Armor Core is right up there to be on the same quality, if to me not a bit better. But the Warhammer one is the one that I would go back to first to rewatch, I think, because it has the most in it. I just like where Armor Core one ends up. The Pac-Man one, like you said, it's just a bit crazy, bit kooky.
Yep.
Kooky. And it's a bit odd. I don't know if tonally it worked. I think another tonal issue is in New World, where for a animated short, there's so much dead air that's supposed to be funny. But a lot of it isn't to me because the pacing is all like it's so off, and that was to me a bit of an issue in all of them. That like there was something about the editing and pacing that just didn't work for me, and in most
they're too short, and the thing is, half of the runtime was credits for most of these.
Yeah,
like
I mean it always is for animation.
Yes, but how can you have a 14-minute thing and then 7 minutes just be credits? It's just like that's not enough. I'm literally looking at the timeline, and it's just like it's halfway through. This should be the halfway point of what's happening. I think something that was super exciting was Unreal Tournaments, because that
that's
one
not
again,
based on
try
any...
to tackle something. It's not based on anything. And that was fun, and that was exciting, and again, that was one of the better ones because it was a longer episode. The Warhammer one was longer. The Unreal Tournament one was longer. And you had more. The only one that was short and I liked was the Pac-Man one because I was fucking losing my mind on how crazy it was.
Yeah. That one was a bit bizarre because you're wondering, okay, what does it do with like the reference to the berries? I was like, okay, well, what's happening with the berries? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then it's this weird kind of lore dump for a Pac-Man-esque creature. It's very atmospheric and weird, and I don't know if we need maybe... Obviously, they all go for some sort of realism, and the Sifu one is the one that's trying to go the most stylized route, just by imitating what the game looks like. But with Pac-Man, like, I would love to... Animation doesn't need to look like it's all rendered in Unreal Engine 6 or 5 or whatever they're up to. They can stylize this. That's why, like, this is an anthology show that you can literally do everything. And then why not like make something fun 2D? Like you could definitely or just use a different type of aesthetic. It would be very fun, and I think they're not going to do that. Yeah, so far it's a bit of a letdown. I don't know what like big shows, because they don't specify that on IMDb yet. Are left, but I think there's a couple ones that are announced that are still coming.
I've got the Letterboxd ones up. Are you talking about the second part?
Yeah, the second half, like 9
second
through
half,
15.
We've got The Outer Worlds, Mega Man, Exodus,
Mega Man could be fun.
Spelunky, Concord, Honor of Kings, and then PlayStation.
I'm most looking forward to like Spelunky. And Mega Man, of course, because I would look for that sort of stylization. But I could check the trailer, and I assume they're going to be more in this like gritty, high detail type style that they go for the other episodes.
They look all except for Mega Man. Exodus Odyssey looks super realistic. But the thing is, these are all just... The funny thing is, video games, especially like high-end RPGs, have had fantastic cutscenes for years. These are just fancy cutscenes on a TV show.
Yeah.
And I think later on in the episode, because the Game Awards happened today, day of recording, a lot of things were announced. And neither Ewan and I have sat down to watch this. And it's currently 9:15 at night. And I'm going to watch it after this. And it's a fucking 4-hour live stream if I watch the 58-minute countdown or whatever it is at the start of that video. But some of I've already seen images of something. I have to watch the countdown. I have to feel like I was watching it, right? I like some of the screenshots from the cutscenes, or like the cinematics of something like the Witcher 4 that's coming out. It looks stunning, and like I mean, CD Projekt Red has had some of the best cinematics in like promoting their games in a while, and even still, like something like the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer that came out last year. Like there are so many upcoming games that have fantastic looking cinematics that these just kind of like, look what we can do with the tech for games. And I'm like, yes, we've always have been able to do that. This was your opportunity to pitch your fucking video game ideas to get adapted into a good narrative, but you fucked up half of it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like the possibilities of this being a step up for this when we had a good year of Arcane being out this year, Fallout. Didn't see the Tomb Raider series make much of a splash, but like being on a good track, and early next year we're getting the second season of The Last of Us. So this would have been another good stepping stone, and I feel like it's not a setback. It's just kind of. That's why, like, we're in the middle of the road, like 5 out of 10 for most of these. Like, it exists. It's not horrible. It's not bad at all. It's just a bit of nothing. Ultimately, what it adds up to.
Yeah.
I played some games this week as well, Lachlan. I finished a little indie game. I don't know if you saw that one. I played the demo for it earlier in the year when I was starting up our gaming channel. That I actually wanted to like play games, and I realized no, I need a break. I don't need to do more. But I still want to play some games. I didn't play as much as I wanted to in my break, but I played a tiny little indie game called Desvelado, where you're like a little vampire creature, and it's a puzzle platformer that is really short. I beat it in like 2 hours. It actually was a ton of fun. I also started Balatro, and Lachlan
You'll never finish it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really finish that game, right? And it's been so much fun. I've barely played it, and I saw you don't have like that many hours in it on Steam, like comparatively of what he could have. But then he has it on his phone. He has it on his phone, and I was so close. I was debating if I should get it for, which is a bit more expensive, on Steam, or get it for like $8 for me, on my phone. And I have yet to get it on my phone. I think
Steam Deck. And because it was free on Apple Arcade, it's free on my phone.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I think before 2025 rolls around, I will have it on my phone as well. It's just what I expect to happen. It's a ton of fun. Deservedly so. We'll go over that once we get to the Game Awards, but the awards did won. I guess it deserved to win. And also, I've continued to play Mario Bros. Wonder and played a little bit of Super Mario Party Jamboree. So the Nintendo fanboy allegations are not getting beaten, which I tried to work. Like, I don't know. I wanted to play, like, I don't know, Outer Wilds or... no, wait, what is it called? Outer Wilds or Outer Worlds?
Outer Worlds, the RPG?
Are you talking about
the Outer Wilds, the space one?
Outer Wilds.
Yeah,
no, Outer Wilds. Okay.
Wilds.
So I had it correct the first time around. Good. Whew. Yeah, I still want to play that. And Neva from the people behind, what's it called? Gris, I think, I guess, because it's gray. But yeah, Lachlan, there's some stuff that you watched, and some exciting things on here.
So
tell me about the craziest film of this year. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no.
Conclave?
Escape from the 21st Century.
Okay, so you guys told me about it, and I had to watch it. So I watched it. Escape from the 21st Century. Listen, all I'm going to say is this movie slaps. And if you haven't seen this movie and it's not on your radar, which I know it's not on a lot of people's radar this year because only 2.3 thousand people have actually seen it. And I can tell you for a fact on Letterboxd, and I can tell you for a fact, it should be higher than that because this is just a lot of fun. You know when you just want to watch a movie and you just want to turn your brain off, you just want to enjoy it. That is this movie. And I'll tell you what, it's pretty close to Hundreds of Beavers for how much I laughed. I know that you didn't find as much of it as funny as no. Kevin, but I absolutely did. So
but I'm an AI.
You're an AI, you don't find it funny. All I will say is I had a great time. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was fun. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was just an enjoyable, fantastic, and great little needle drops of songs. I'll give it that. Like every time a song came on, I was like, this is perfect. Escape from the 21st Century, I gave it 4 stars. Highly recommend it for me. And it is definitely sneaking its way up into my list.
Noted here that it only was out in theaters in China. It only is digitally out in China. So I think the likeliest route that you'll get to find this film is by messaging Kevin on Discord. But maybe you find a way to, like, obviously it's like you'll find it somewhere if you know in the places to look for. But if you want to support it, then it might be a bit more difficult. But yeah, we can recommend it just for how out there it's. Huh?
I'll buy him a beer.
Buy him a beer, yeah.
Li Yang. I also watched Conclave, not this week, but the week before. But because what you've been watching was cut out because of terrible audio issues last week, I'm including it this week because it definitely deserves a shout out. It's a definitely major Oscar buzz film. Ralph Fiennes is just such a good fucking actor. God, I love him. I like this movie for a whole different reason. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was fun. I found the twist at the end kind of stupid. But just because like the tack on twist right at the end was just a little bit stupid for me. But for me, the film was well done, well thought out, well paced, executed fairly well. The only annoyance for me was that twist, and also it just felt too planned with each of the popes that were going for it. Just like each day it was just like, I'm going to take out this pope, and then the next day I'm going to take out this pope. It should have been dominoes falling for all of them, and then just bang, 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 bang. That would have been better for me, at least in terms of pacing wise, because it really just felt like,
bang,
all
bang,
right,
bang.
let's do
Cardinal bird hunting.
This guy, what's wrong with you? You launder money. You're not the pope. What's wrong with this guy? No, you're not. No, you're done. You're done now, mate. It's his day. What did you do? What's that? You got that girl to come to here to because he had a relationship with her. Hang on, hold off. You're now in trouble. It's your day. So it felt like it was very much just like, you're now the focus. You're now the focus. And it should have kind of been all of them going on and that would have made this sort of like tension feel a bit more
You think so? I think it really works because it ultimately arrives at a point that like no one's going to live up to this requirement of being this celestial connection that is perfect. All of them are flawed, and actually no one that wants it is like, everyone has shit on their stick. I think that is a German saying. I
agree. It gets to that point. It's just that the way that they take out these wannabe
it's very methodical
popes to the cardinal, it's very much like you go, this pope, here's what he did. They bring it up, they expose him, then it's gone. So yeah, that's all. But 4 stars.
Yeah, same for me. And I think I have we should have a review that's coming out with our Ghent recap, which is still not out yet, but we have a whole bunch of movies that will get clipped and
it'll be out eventually.
Hopefully.
When saw Gladiator 2 again with my dad this time. And I got the dad tick of approval. It's a dad movie. He enjoyed it.
Let's go.
I enjoyed it again on the rewatch. I definitely think, because I was like, oh, okay, it's me watching Gladiator again. Am I going to keep the score, lower the score, etc., etc.? And
it was really high for you, right? You were like
I think it's 4 stars. I think it's just like, yeah, I don't understand. It's like, Ridley Scott isn't making the movies that he used to, because I had the thought of his cinematographer being like, oh yeah, he shoots with like 10 cameras, he cuts things out in post, he really doesn't think out a shot anymore, he just wants to capture as much coverage and then edit it together. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, yeah, I can see that. Like, there's a lot of different cuts in his films, at least recently, especially when I went back and watched Gladiator 2, I was like, there's a lot of different like individual shots in the same scene. But for me, I think that it entertains me to the point that I don't give a fuck, and it's Ridley Scott. And honestly, Denzel Washington was so great on the rewatch as well. So yeah, it's a solid 4-star movie. This is a 4 banger week. All 4 stars. Escape the 21st century, Conclave, and Gladiator 2. All of them 4 stars.
Easy to recommend, yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to shout out is because I also played a game, Ewan, and I'm currently playing Caravan Sandwich.
Yeah, which comes off a recommendation from me, right?
Yeah, you shouted it out to me. It's a perfect Steam Deck game when I'm busy, and it's that time of year where it's busy at work and I just need time to relax. And sometimes, like last night, I finished work and then I had to go and get stuff done. One of those was literally just like washing my car. at the car wash, and I went through the automatic car wash because I was just feeling lazy. I just had to clean the car because it's just something I'd just been putting off, and I just sat there for like the 3.5, 4 minutes, and I had the Steam Deck with me, and I just started playing in there, and it was just so convenient. It's just like at the most, like when it's just I just need something to do for like a couple minutes, it's there, it's ready to go. But one thing I have done is I've started writing out things for next year, and one of them is that I want to tackle my backlog of games and my watch list for movies. So I'm referring it to my watch list of movies and my backlog of games. And I would like to tackle them because there's plenty of games that I've started, never finished, and there's games that I almost finished but never actually got to completion. There are games for DLCs that I bought for, but I've never actually played and finished them, such as the Alan Wake 2 DLCs. I've bought those, but I haven't actually played them because I went to start a replay, but then I started playing other things. So I have put together an Excel spreadsheet, and I have made my backlog. And I shall be sitting down and doing something similar for my movies in my watch list. And I think 2025 will be the year that I tick off some big ones, some big movies.
Oh, you also a backlog of like all the stuff to do. I think on top of that list is probably The Godfather or something like that.
Pretty much. One of the things I realized is when it comes to the consumption of media, we are really flawed beings as humans, especially right now in like the 2024 2025 space. It's so much, but also we have to consume it quickly. We have to consume it in bite-sized pieces. But when we look at like traditional media, when we look at things like books, we look at like the three that I'm thinking of are like books, movies, TV shows, for example, and games. Those three, right? Bundling movies and TV shows together. When you create a backlog, right? When you create a backlog of some sort of that, right? Like let's say you read a lot. There are like books that have been around for a fucking long time. Like since we could basically write, we have written books. So there is a lot of books that you can read in your backlog. Now we also have if you could read, now we also have over 100 years of cinema on our hands, of actual filmmaking on our hands, which means there are plenty of movies that you are going to watch today that refer to movies that were made 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Literally coming out in 2 weeks' time, a movie from 1922, Nosferatu.
Yeah, and I feel that as a person who reviews movies, I need to have a understanding of the classics, and I feel like that's an important thing. So I think what I might do is I might go out to watch like the top 10 or maybe 15, 20 of each decade, like the big ones, include like all of the big movies, but maybe include like the Palme d'Or and like the if the best picture wasn't in that, like include the big movies that came out that were
culturally have a standhold and
exactly
still are relevant.
Go through those lists and make that kind of watch list of films, which is super annoying for films because at the same time, it's the same with any of these medias, things come out. And the funny thing is like games, whilst games are, they've only been around for, let's say like, and we're talking like, games have been around for ages, but we're talking like video games, like the current state that they are, the quality that they are, have only been at this quality for maybe like 30, 40 years, but they are so much bigger and time heavy because they take up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, 100 plus if you're playing the likes of an RPG and Elden Ring. So whilst you may have a smaller backlog of games, you're going to still, like, I think I basically used how long to beat to write out how long it should take me to beat each game, and I've got over 2,000 hours of games to beat. Wow. And that's a lot, right? And that's based off of close to, it's based off of, I'll tell you exactly.
You know how many hours of movies I watched in my lifetime according to Letterboxd? Like over the whole
how many?
Life, a bit more than 7,000. And
it's a lot.
I haven't watched 2,000 hours of movies this year. I watched 1,115 or 16 at the moment. So that is 2,000 hours that's a lot. That's a
lot, right? Now, to be fair, in this list, I've got a lot of big games. We're talking like the Elden Rings, Forbidden Wests, Stalker 2.
Yeah.
We're talking 40, 50, 60 plus hour games, and I've included some additional content in that because I'm not someone who just does the story. I'm someone who walks around, and I might not do every single thing. I'm not a completionist all the time.
Right.
But I've got massive games in there. And this is based off of 77 games that I've currently got listed in my backlog, and I own a decent amount of them. The big thing is I want to get through the games that I already own before I start buying new games. But for me, that's important. That I know I'm not going to be able to hit them all. I know I'm not going to be able to do all 77 of those next year because there are also games that are coming out next year that I would also like to play. But I think step 1 is making the list, and then step 2 is doing it.
All right, Lachlan, let's look at some movie headlines. And first up, we have some movie news in general. The Academy Awards or Oscars will be streamed on Hulu this year.
The Golden Globe nominations were announced this week, and Emilia Perez leads with 10 nominations, which is a new record for a movie in the comedy and musical category, surpassing Barbie. Up next is The Brutalist with 7 nominations, Conclave with 6, Nora and the Substance with 5 each. The Bear leads the TV nominees with 5 total mentions, followed by Only Murders in the Building and Shogun with 4 each.
The Critics' Choice nominees were also announced, with Wicked and Conclave leading nominations with 12 respectively. The winner will be announced on January 12th, and we also got Dune Part 2 and Emilia Perez landing 10 nominations, followed by The Brutalist with 9 and Anora and the Substance with 7 nominations each. Apart from those, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing, and a Complete Unknown are also nominated for Best Picture.
Moana 2 reaches 600 million globally just 2 weekends after the global release. The opening was a huge boost to the 2024 box office.
Jim Carrey reveals that he returned to Sonic 3 as Dr. Robotnik for the money.
Of course he did. Barry Jenkins is set to return to filmmaking involving less CGI work, with Mufasa set to release on December 20th.
Michael Grace, the director of The Greatest Showman and Better Man, is in talks to direct the live-action Tangled for Disney.
The English language remake of Another Round or Drunk is being written by David Arburn and Chris Rock directing.
The Sundance lineup has been announced, at least the first part of it. We got a list linked below that you can go check out on our Letterboxd HQ account. And I also did an impromptu live stream that lasted for over 3 hours, going over every single movie that was announced so far.
Happy Gilmore 2 has finished filming.
Tom Holland inks producing deal with Sony under his newly launched Billy 17.
A new Meet the Parents is in the works, with Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller returning. The original from 2000 was already a remake of a 1992 film of the same name and has spawned sequels called Meet the Fockers and Little Fockers, released in 2004 and 2010.
A new Chitty Chitty Bang Bang movie is in the works from Amazon MGM.
Rosario Dawson is headlining the supernatural horror thriller Unmerciful Good Fortune.
Steven Soderbergh taps Ian McKellen, Michael Cole, and James Gordon for a dark comedy called The Christophers.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is directing an AI thriller for Ryan Johnson's T Street, with Anne Hathaway to star.
Pokemon and Aardman team up for a mystery special project.
A Clayface movie at DC Studios is being written by Mike Flanagan.
The Brutalist team have wrapped on an under-the-radar musical called Anne Lee, starring Amanda Seyfried, Thomasin McKenzie, Louis Pullman, Christopher Abbott, Tim Blake Nelson, and Stacey Martin.
We have some casting news this week as well, with Jeremy Allen White joining the Mandalorian and Grogu film to voice the son of Jabba the Hutt, Rotter the Hutt. The cast already includes Pedro Pascal and Sigourney Weaver. The film is set to release in May 2026.
Chris Evans is returning to Marvel for Avengers Doomsday.
Eddie Redmayne is set to star opposite Julia Roberts in Sam Esmail's Panic Carefully for Warner Brothers. Brian Tyree Henry is also in final talks to join as well.
Danny Peikoff, an executive producer on Horizon and American Saga, is directing Out Come the Wolves, a punk music drama starring Giancarlo Esposito.
McKenna Grace has joined the cast for Scream 7.
Bill Skarsgård and Dacre Montgomery have been cast in hostage thriller Dead Man's Wire from Gus Van Sant. It's based on a true story. The film follows a former real estate developer who takes the mortgage banker who did him wrong hostage, demanding $5 million and a personal apology.
Jared Leto is in final talks to join Al Pacino and Jessica Chastain's in Barry Levinson's JFK thriller Assassination.
Kit Harington joins Mark Wahlberg in Apple and Skydance's The Family Plan sequel.
And finally, with the Game Awards wrapping up earlier today, we haven't seen it yet, but there is plenty of news that has come out about it, such as the Game Awards crowning Astrobot Game of the Year. It won in 4 categories for Family Game, Action Adventure, and Game Direction.
Congrats to that. I have yet to play the game, and I think you too, Lachlan, right? There was also Helldivers 2 that won Best Ongoing Game and Best Multiplayer.
Best Indie Game went to Balatro over Animal Well, which I can see being fair, but Animal Well was fantastic just as much as Balatro is addicting. It also won Best Debut Indie Game and Mobile Game.
Black Myth Wukong wins Best Action and Player's Choice, which is basically the Audience Award.
Fallout the TV show won Best Adaptation over Arcane.
The Witcher 4 was announced with a first trailer.
Elden Ring is getting a co-op spin-off called Night Rain.
Naughty Dog has a new game called Intergalactic The Heretic Prophet that got announced at the Game Awards. The soundtrack is being handled by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Mafia the Old Country reveals its first trailer with a linear, narrative-driven sequel that sets a summer 2025 release date.
Split Fiction, the new game from the co-op kings behind It Takes Two and No Way Out, got announced.
Borderlands 4 got a gameplay trailer, which is super important because Borderlands this year is pretty much a flop, but in video games, maybe it's got a chance still.
Then we got a new Telltale game called Dispatch that has quite an extensive cast, including Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, Jeffrey Wright, Aaron Yvette, Jacksepticeye, Most Critical, Alana Pierce, Travis Willingham, Joel Haver, Lance Canstopis, I can't stop this reading here, and Matthew Mercer, and the Fought Squad. So I'm not familiar with all of those, but that's a whole lot of people. So let's kick it off with the discussion around the Game Awards first. Again, we both have not sat down to actually watch the award show. I have not seen a single trailer for any of the games.
And it's,
you watched some of them?
10 and it's a 4-hour live stream, so I'm not going to bed tonight. What was your question, sorry?
I don't know. What's your highlight of the show so far?
I don't know.
Like,
I haven't seen any of it yet. But
what do you mean?
I am
not prepared
already
for this,
hyped for I'm already hyped for seeing the Witcher 4 cinematic. I know people may be burnt from Cyberpunk, but I was one of the weird ones that enjoyed it even at launch. I actually did not have that many bug crashes, and I loved the world. So I am super keen to get back into the Witcher world. Talking about my backlog, I really want to replay The Witcher 3 again. I recently had that itch where I was like, I really just want to... It's a big game, but I love it, especially the DLC. But I'm super keen for a new IP from Naughty Dog. I love The Last of Us. I love Uncharted, but I'd like to see them do something a little bit different. And this is very different, if I do say so myself. But yeah, all of the wins I kind of, I can see there was honestly, it was a good year for gaming. I'll give it that. It was a good year for gaming.
I mean, I'm a bit surprised that the Game Award ended up going to Astrobot. I heard so many great things about it yet. I haven't bought it myself. I haven't played it yet. But I guess it shoots up the list of what I should play. Among that, also Black Myth Wukong, which looked stunning. And now getting Player's Choice also means the majority of the people voting in that were also gamers and like to watch the Game Awards voted for it. And a good action game can go a long way. I prefer platformers. I'm a big platformer guy. I like that stuff. And even smaller indie games. But surprising that, again, I just started playing Balatro. I haven't started playing Animal Well. but that is such an addicting. Like we got 2 really great indie games, debut games, and Balatro, I guess, just won over Animal well. Yeah, they definitely had a great launch too. It couldn't be more different from each other. One of them, like, kind of this Metroidvania. And the other one's just like a really well put together like card game.
It's just it crack and fucking.
But it's
gambling.
a good crack.
It's great.
It's a good crack. Okay, it's good stuff. It's what I appreciate about that game as well. It's not tied into any sort of bullshit of like, hey, get this Joker or whatever. Like there's a system of you buying and that sort of gambling thing that isn't so predatory in how like that has infested all of the like sports broadcasts. All of it is parlays and gambling and everything. And in gaming, it tends to happen as well with like the loot boxes and like the crate openings. And this one stay clear of it, and I love that. It's simple, great stuff. I also own The Witcher 3. I haven't played it, but it's on my list as well. They keep putting that on like a really pretty looking discount, so at one point I had to get it. Are you going to play like the Elden Ring co-op spin-off game? I know you didn't like. I don't think you finished the game, right? It wasn't ended up not being like, super free.
I didn't even start it. I have tried.
Really? No, you played some.
Ellen. I've done 8 hours, 10 hours of Elden Ring.
Okay, that's I guess nothing.
That is nothing.
Yeah.
I have never really been able to get into FromSoft games or just Souls games in general. Souls like or Souls light games. I have been able to get into, but the actual I've tried Dark Souls, I've tried Sekiro, I've tried Elden Ring, and I don't know if it's just my mentality of how I play or I'm just not used to it, but I it's in my backlog and it is something that I'd like to tackle next year. It is something that I'd like to say, hey, let me give it a week. Let me give it a week of just only playing Elden Ring and just trying it out. Because when I bought it on sale. I bought it with a bunch of stuff. Actually, no, I didn't buy it on sale. I bought it at full price because I was like, I think I'm going to enjoy this one. I bought it at full price and I haven't played it. So
I think you brought it up on the podcast on like you bought it in the week of release.
Yeah, because I was actually keen for it because of I thought the world is beautiful, by the way. Like I probably spent most of my time not fighting and just walking around being like, oh well, pretty. But yeah, I just could not get into Souls games. I'm gonna try to get into it. I don't know about the co-op thing. I'm probably good.
Because I think there was already some kind of co-op version that I saw some streamers play, and I don't know if that was like
well, there are elements where you can invite people to fight with you in Elden Ring. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but not the whole story being based around that. Yeah.
Well, I thought there was co-op in Elden Ring, but I could be wrong.
Have you played It Takes Two? Speaking of co-op.
Yes.
You played it with did you play it with your girlfriend or who did you play with?
we played together. We did I think we've done both of them. We've done both It Takes Two and A Way Out. We've played both of them together.
I own both of them, but I was actually looking forward to playing it either with you or Kevin, but both of you I think at least you have already played it. So yeah. But
I'll play it
need
again.
A second best for it. Yeah, maybe we could do that. Maybe check out the gaming channel and subscribe there, so we have an incentive of like there's an audience that wants us to play It Takes Two on a really bad ping with each other. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, very bad ping.
But yeah, other than that, obviously Naughty Dog is exciting to have another game out. I don't know if they gave a timeline for these. Again, we have to watch them a bit more closely. If something really sticks out to us, I guess we'll bring it up again next week. A good year for games overall. I'm a bit surprised that Fallout won over Arcane. I think the second season wasn't, I guess, as loved as the first one. But I think if you put them side by side, maybe Arcane slightly edges out Fallout. But both of them, I guess, star Ella Purnell. So great year for her to be
great win for
gaming
her.
Adjacent. That's all great stuff. But other than that, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? Maybe the Oscars being on Hulu? It's a good thing. Accessible. Hosted by Conan.
We don't have Hulu in Australia, so I don't give a fuck.
Neither, but VPN, you know, makes it maybe a bit more easier for us. Because for me, the only stream that I would get would be someone who like live translates what's happening. And that is so beyond annoying that I can't really watch the Oscars live in a way that I don't hate it.
I think Jeremy Allen White being cast as Rod of the Hutt is kind of funny.
It's a voice role mainly, right?
Yeah, as a voice role. The Chitty Chitty Bang Bang one is interesting.
Isn't that movie from like the 50s or 60s? It's like
it's interesting, very interesting to me. And yeah, Barry Jenkins not wanting to do CGI work, totally get that. Jim Carrey coming back for money, totally get that. Most of this, honestly, it's light news.
As it should be,
weeks.
I think. Most of it is coming down to, hey, here's another awards body that is an indicator for where the Oscars end up, and everyone ends up caring about that. To me, the most notable out of all of these nominations is that The Substance has solidified itself to be an actual Best Picture nominee, not a contender, but a nominee. And Coraline Farshad also getting that directing nomination would be sick. We have yet to see a Complete Unknown, which could pop up there. You covered Sing Sing last week, but we also haven't seen Nickel Boys yet, which is getting only like really great reviews from how it approaches its first-person narrative. So I'm looking forward to like catching up on all of the relevant like awards films of the year, and hopefully by the time we wrap up with the year and have our like top 10s, like all of those videos with those about those topics, that we can add a couple more films onto your watch list. But yeah, so far it's been like kind of, as you'd expect, kind of just the same few films that get nominated, and I'm still perplexed how much Emilia Perez is getting. But I've also had like some other people in real life here, not just online, say that like they really liked Emilia Perez. That are like also cinephiles, older people as well. So I've been a bit surprised how much that movie resonates when I thought just like it was a mess. But you've yet to see it, Lachlan. You still have to catch up with it. Maybe you'll love it.
Maybe.
That's it for the news discussions. We do have a couple of trailers to briefly look at. We won't spend too much time here because we already have a long episode. But maybe it's better to have them at the end here so we can make that choice and not just like talk about all of them and then we're 2 hours in and are reviewing another movie for an hour. But the first actual trailer beyond the teaser look for 28 years later, we got that like look of like the weird specced out iPhone or whatever they had to film on,
iPhone
which 15
was 15 Pro Max.
Yeah, it's a film, by Danny Boyle. Then Alex Garland is writing. In the cast, we got Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Jack O'Connell, Alfie Williams, and Ralph Fiennes. And the tagline is, "What will humanity become?" And I think this first look was pretty incredible. It got me really hyped for a movie that's not too far away, July 20th, 2025. Lachlan, I recently caught up with both of the 28 blank later films earlier this year. I think they're fine. They're not, I think neither of them are like actually incredible. They're both pretty good. And one of them obviously has aged in a very particular way because it's supposed to look so like a handheld and like scrappy. Just to get you excited because it obviously looks a bit more like a survival action film, like on a bigger scale, right?
Yeah, I'm keen. Mainly for Aaron Taylor-Johnson, which is the only reason I want to go see Craven, which is getting terrible reviews. But yeah. I'm keen because Jodie Comer is also in it, and Ralph Fiennes is also in it, and it's Danny Boyle and Alex Garland coming back together, baby. I'm super keen for it all.
Bless, yeah.
I'm infected. But yeah, I want to see it. I'm keen, and if I'm honest, I think it looks very pretty, even though I know it was shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, to me, it didn't look at all like it was shot on a phone. Like, it looked like a standard... maybe it's quick shots, and if I were to investigate, you'd be able to tell, but not from these first couple of shots at all.
You won't be able to tell because they adapted cinema lenses to it, and that's what gives it the depth. The color and everything.
I really don't get why.
iPhones can shoot ProRes. So they can get the same color accuracy out of an iPhone that they're going to get out of a cinema camera that's shooting ProRes, but
it seems so pointless. Yeah, it seems so pointless.
It's definitely going to be like, I reckon in like 6 months' time, Apple will come out with like a new product, and they'll be like, 28 years later was shot on an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Look how powerful our cameras are. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be like, shut the fuck up, take my money.
Fair.
A bit like if Nintendo was to come out and be like, hey, here's a new platform, and you're like, here's my money.
If I speak, I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, well, speaking of Apple, there's an Apple TV Plus, I think direct to Apple TV Plus movie that also looks kind of, it's a direct to Apple TV Plus movie with some A-line actors, Miles Teller, Anya Taylor-Johnson, A-list, what it was, yeah, especially. A-list is what I was thinking of. Thank you so much, Lachlan. But The Gorge, which is, I don't know how you feel about the word gorge.
Thanks.
Gorgeous. How do you feel about the word? No, is that maybe the underlying thing that this ultimately is not a like action, maybe fantasy? I don't know, whatever movie,
yeah, gorge,
but it's a romance.
Gorgeous, yeah, exactly.
Gorge, and if you reach beyond the gorge, you get to gorgeous because it's us.
Yeah,
along the gorge, gorge us.
Yes. Yep. Also, Sigourney Weaver
is also in it. Yeah. Which she is not going to be involved in the love triangle here. So I don't know if I care. But it's obviously in the poster you see like the hand coming up. So there's some kind of weird creature that's in there, and they're not supposed to work with each other, but then they do, and it's all going to be classified. But then there's going to be action. I'm going to watch it, as I do with all of these like relevant films that release in the year, but I'm not particularly excited. What do you think? Yeah. Lachlan's pulling faces. I don't know. He hasn't decided yet.
Look, it's crazy to think that 28 years later is not a like Apple TV Plus movie, and they shot it on a fucking iPhone, where The Gorge is probably shot on like $60,000 cameras.
It doesn't look like it.
And doesn't look like it. Yeah. But look, all I will say is I will go and see anything with Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller in it at this stage.
That is fair. I think I'd have to kind of say the same. And it's not too far off. It's out. It's out February 14th in 2025. And then we got a comedy that I don't know if I'm... Because like the way that they presented this trailer... I think... I just realized that I didn't either.
Oh, perfect. So let's skip it.
Well, we can skip it.
I'm trying to keep myself awake. Let's skip it.
You're cordially invited. Will Ferrell, Reese Witherspoon, out on Prime, January 30th.
Comes out on Prime, Jan 30th.
Crazy movie that we got next. Jack Quaid, ouch. Yeah, it's ouch. But he doesn't feel ouch.
He no
March
ouchie.
14th. no ouchie in Novocaine.
I think trailers look good. Trailers look good.
I think I don't have much else to say about that.
It could be nobody. Could be like the nobody.
Exactly. And Kevin gave the data, he said about it, because I have proclaimed him the action guy, and he has all of those labels that we all like. And I hate that the most brought up one for me is the kid hater. I don't like that. I want to be the stat boy who cries at movies, who likes romance films.
It's not my fault that every time there's a kid on screen, I literally watch you do this.
But they're so bad. And I have watched all of the Harry Potter tapes.
What are you gonna do?
30,000 auditions. Kids. They were all shit, Lachlan, I tell you. None of those kids are even close to Daniel Radcliffe.
Maybe in height.
Definitely in height. Some of those 7-year-olds were taller than him. But we're going to check this one out. Again, funny concept. I think better than it's going to be in the execution of a guy who can't feel pain. So he's like, ooh, I'm going to be a superhero, but then you just like, you also die if you bleed out. So, fun concept. Going to check that one out. And then lastly, Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, comes out on February 28th in the theaters. I have never seen any of the Looney Tunes stuff. I think you are a bit more familiar with them. Yeah, I know. I'm lacking history. I watched The Lion King and cried at stuff and was outside for most of my childhood. I didn't really watch a lot of like TV growing up. Like I didn't watch a ton of SpongeBob and like all of that Nickelodeon stuff.
And as the childhood recluse of the podcast, who
that's why I hate children so much.
Stay inside and watch TV. What the fuck?
Just stay from. I don't know if you can touch grass in Australia. Isn't it like hot? That's crazy. You can touch it
has been like 40 degrees the past 2 days.
But doesn't it? Yeah, I thought that like everything's dangerous down under, and like it's so many animals, and I would never go. Not everything. It's so dangerous. Spiders and snakes. You literally lived here. Doesn't the grass bite? I thought the grass bites.
It does get itchy though.
Well, that's a pity. But this looked kind of entertaining, pretty fun, and I definitely have to catch up on some more Looney Tunes lore for sure. But looked fun. And then lastly, with Kevin added in here, we both already caught it, not including both. I don't mean Lachlan with that, but Kevin and I, The Brutalist, we've reviewed it. There's a review out on the channel for it. You are getting it on January 23rd, unfortunately, so it won't even be on your 2024 end of the year list. A24's big old spectacle. Brady Corbett are likely going to get a bunch of Oscar wins, maybe definitely a nomination for his directing, but Adrien Brody is fighting it out with Timothée Chalamet for Best Lead because he's stunning in The Brutalist. And I don't know how much of the story you want to know going in. It's just a really, really long movie, and you love shorter films, but this one is truly an epic. It's a great one. I'm going to, I think, rewatch it this week, and I wasn't as high on like the masterpiece, it's monumental level as some others were, but maybe I'll change my mind the second time around. That should be out in US limited release December 20th. Lachlan has nothing to say about it other than he'll check it out next year, I guess. It's not on your priority list because you can't even see it this year.
It depends what time we come out with our lists.
Exactly. And let us know what you think about like this all upside down world here of the podcast. Do you like it switched around? And maybe something that I was also low-key considering for next year was to move some of the news section into a live stream so we could watch the trailers that we are discussing, maybe check out a couple more trailers, and we would have to figure out if like how much of it would be a collaboration or if it maybe would switch. So Kevin joins me because of the timing thing and with the delay with Lachlan, just so we can trim down a podcast a bit, because we've noticed we've hit 2 hours more often in our recording time than not in the last couple of weeks, and it just maybe that would be a thing to do. Let us know what you think of it, if generally you'd be up for that. And while we're not talking about movies, just yet again with the new releases, make sure to leave us a rating over on Spotify and Apple. Helps us out for more people to find the show, and subscribe over on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers now that we hit 500 on YouTube. And then also, again, join our Discord. A lot's going on there. Let's have a look at the week ahead. We got some new releases coming up, some big ones. Two, I'd say animated ones, but one of them some will call a live action movie. On December 20th, we are getting Mufasa, the Lion King. Then Barry Jenkins is finally freed from the obligations from Disney. Then can go back to make movies like If Beale Street Could Talk or Moonlight. There's also Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that is out, and then out in limited release we got The Brutalist as well as The Count of Monte Cristo, and then also Pedro Almodovar's Golden Lion winner The Room Next Door. Out on VOD from December 16th to the 22nd. We got Cuckoo and Small Things Like These out on December 17th. Out on December 19th, we get Beast Games, the first 2 episodes release of that Mr. Beast show that is coming to Prime. We'll see if the controversy around the biggest creator on YouTube has any say into the rating numbers of this Amazon Prime show. On December 20th, after a VOD release earlier this month, Juror Number 2, Clint Eastwood's latest film, is out to stream on Max. And The 688 is out on Netflix, a movie that I will gladly skip because it involves Tyler Perry. December 22nd, we got Between the Temples out on Netflix US. I'll try and catch that one because Lachlan reviewed it, I think, 2 weeks ago, and I've yet to get to it. And some of the performances have been highlighted by some of the critics on their end of the year lists. Out on December 22nd, we are getting What If Season 3 that premieres a new episode every day, I think, until pretty much the end of the year. And then it's the end for What If as well, because it's ending with Season 3. Out in Australia, you are also getting Mufasa as well as Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. So I will send out Lachlan to go catch this one early. I would love to hear what you think of it. Obviously, should be one of those animation contenders. Could be your favorite animated film of the year, because Adman, they really never miss. And then out in Switzerland, we are getting All We Imagine Is Lied. That is racking up a bunch of nominations. I think the most surprising was that at BAFTA, it got in as the 6th nomination for Best Direction, which was really surprising. A lot of critics have been loving it. I think it's a good film. Not amazing, but really, really good. And I wouldn't be surprised. Well, it's not, it's unfortunately not selected by India to be the representative for the Oscars. But yeah, really good film that if you can, go check it out. A Sister's Tale is out in Swiss theaters, as well as Der Spitzname, which is like the nickname, what that would translate to in English, that already had 2 movies that were called The First Name and The Last Name, and now The Nickname. It's a trilogy of films that I have avoided so far, and I will continue to do that. But if that's up your speed and you're based in Switzerland or Germany, then go check it out. And then lastly, Mufasa, the movie that we're going to talk about next week, is out in Swiss theaters as well. But that brings us to the end of the show. Lachlan, I'm so happy to be back. It was a big one. And yeah, by next week, I'll also have seen Nosferatu, A Complete Unknown, and Sonic Free. So I'll let you know about those. I'm going to talk about Squid Game Season 2 as well. I got the screeners for those. So a lot of stuff to talk about until the end of the year. And hopefully you'll join us again. Subscribe, leave a like to not miss it, and share it with someone who would also enjoy it. And we much appreciate you watching. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.